98.5, the Sports Hub. Celtics win tonight. What were your thoughts on some of the shenanigans tonight? Did that feel like a win, everybody? Did it feel like a win tonight? I think we know who the better team is, but few things to get into tonight as we're here until midnight. Phone number here is 617-779-0985. We're on YouTube as well if you want to chat in. So, everybody, what do you want to talk about? Well, let's ask Cerrone Battle, who's joining us here in postgame. Where do you want to start here, Cerrone, tonight?
Oh, man, he can start anywhere. It was a strange night, upside down world down there in Miami. It was pretty weird.
Well, let's start Derek White first. Let's start. Tonight was the Derek White game. 38 points. We know what he's done in that building before. He's had, I would say that after game two, I sat here and crushed Porzingis and Drew Holiday for not playing well. Those were the two acquisitions that they made. And, Tatum and Brown did their job. And if the other guys just did theirs, they would have won the game. But Derek White was quiet, too. Tonight, he was on fire. Kevin Love, before the game, mentioned they had some sort of adjustment that they figured out. They didn't figure it out on Derek White, who was absolutely awesome tonight. So first, want to give my flowers to him. He was absolutely outstanding.
Yeah, he was the tone setter early. The rest of the Celtics weren't playing any better than the Miami Heat were. He was the difference. He was the reason they were up big at half. He was the reason they pushed it, as high as they did. I think up to like 27 or whatever it was. It was all Derek White on both ends. He was blocking shots, making plays. Should have had a couple and ones on those dunks, those kind of back-to-back dunks there late. And I think that would have buried him if they would have called fouls on that too. But yeah, he was the tone setter, and is something I've said about this team all season. I think this is the first time we've seen in the Tatum-Brown era where they can be really non-existent offensively and still win games because these other guys have the ability to. They have a bunch of guys have the ability to go out and get a 30-point night, and you saw it definitely tonight from Derek White.
Yeah, he was great. It's funny. I didn't have a chance to listen to the TNT broadcast locally here. I got we have Grandy on the radio, and at times I can hear highlights from Scal, etc. So I didn't hear Stan Van Gundy tonight, but I don't know what you got nationally. Is that what you got, Cerrone?
I was back and forth. I get NBC too, so I was back and forth between the two.
How was Van Gundy tonight?
He was it's low key, like he was rooting for the Heat. Like it was like, he loved their defensive effort, which was great. They were playing defense, and he spent most of the night just dogging the Celtics' effort, dogging them not playing defense, even though Miami was struggling to do anything offensively. He was killing the Celtics defense, saying it wasn't good enough. It was just Miami missing. But I mean, he was getting on the Celtics for not keeping their foot on the gas the whole game, which is legit. It's true. But in the NBA, no one holds on to these 30-point leads anymore for some reason. But he was all over the Celtics defense from beginning to end in this game, which I don't understand as bad as Miami Heat was offensively.
All right, we'll get into that final play one of the final plays in the game with Jason Tatum and Bam Adebayo.
It's a little strange.
We need to stretch our legs out on that one. That was, and then the other thing tonight, finally, the Kristaps Porzingis injury. It looked like he rolled his left ankle. Then he stayed in the game.
Yeah.
And he tried to make a pass at the top of the key while dribbling. Then it looked like his calf, listed as right calf tightness, doubtful to return. Woj had that he'll undergo imaging on Tuesday, but the early indications are that he hasn't sustained an Achilles injury, which is good. And then Abby Chin had a chance to catch up with Charles Lee, who said it's not he thinks he'll be fine moving forward. So those are the updates that we have.
Yeah.
And we'll have more updates coming up in a second here as I know Kristaps Porzingis in a walking boot as he leaves the locker room. I think it's his ankle, especially off that walking boot. Not sure what you saw on that place around.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't realize he had tweaked something a couple plays before until they showed the replays. And then once I saw that, I said, okay, he was trying to fight through whatever had just happened. And then he felt a sharp pain. and it kind of looked like more fear than anything else. It's reminiscent of Paul Pierce in a wheelchair situation, like, oh God, I'm dead. Let me just get out of here. And that's I kind of felt it was the same issue as what Giannis went through or KD a few years ago.
There we go. That's what I was thinking. Yep.
Yeah, it's like he didn't blow the Achilles, but the pain, was there, and it's similar injury. But I think what needs to happen is they have to end this team on Wednesday, get it over with, and pray that Cleveland and Orlando keep battling and go 7. That way you get a ton of rest, ton of time off. You can evaluate it, you can treat it, you can do whatever, not just for him, but for Tatum. We'll get into that later. But for all of them to kind of recover, because look, let's just face it, Miami has turned this into they're playing in the mud. They've been physical, they've been aggressive. This is what they were. This is how this is heat culture. This is what they do. They slow everything down. They be ultra aggressive. So win or lose, you're going to come out of it banged up, and they're letting the Celtics feel it. And they have to hurry up and get this over with before somebody else ends up limping or this thing goes longer and you don't get rest. Because anything after tonight, everything's every other day. So you want to go ahead and get this thing over with the quickest possible and get your rest in for Porzingis and Tatum and anybody else that's dealing with something.
This is one of the reasons why I didn't want to see Miami. It wasn't about the zone, right? It wasn't about the coaching matchup or any of that. It's the fact that they're definitely undermanned, right? They don't have the talent. They don't have Butler. They don't have Rozier, who helped out at times. So it's just they don't have that. They can't keep up with the Celtics. They can go on little runs. They can fight them. It's just when I look at them, the Heat still have that. And tonight it got Porzingis and it tried to get Tatum, which I wonder how he feels after the flight and he comes home. But you know what I mean? I'm now worried about him, considering he missed the rest of the game in Game 7 last year.
Yeah, it's always something with them. It's what they do. This is Spoelstra. This is Pat Riley. This is Pat Riley's DNA. This is what he had in New York, and he brought it to Miami in the late 90s, and it just became heat culture. That's what they just call it now. But what it is just being physical. If we're undermanned and we're less talented, we're gonna like wrestling. Like they're the ones who would throw the salt in your eyes. They would take the cushion off the turnbuckle or throw a chair or hook the leg. Yes. They're the ones that put the foot on the rope and the ref's
brass
not
knuckles,
looking.
right? The brass knuckles.
Yeah, exactly. This is who they're heels. Yep. This is who they are. And it's not so much, and everybody looked at it as a Jimmy Butler thing. And you're like, yeah, but they win even when he has 12-point nights, because this is what they do to people. They bring you down to their level. They keep they real slow with it. That zone, that in and out of zone, looks like you're over, but there's 3 guys there. Looks like there's 7 guys on the court at sometimes. And it just makes the game nasty. And what ends up happening is if you don't match it, you end up with guys limping all over the place, little sore, bruised, banged up. But this is what they like to do. This is the reason Udonis Haslem lasted for 20 years on that bench, because that's the kind of player he is. It's the kind of guy they like. And like you mentioned it caught Porzingis and it caught Tatum tonight. Almost caught Tatum at the end of Game 1. But this is heat culture, and you have to get it over with quickly and get Orlando and Cleveland. Both of those teams play defense not like Miami, but they keep the score low, but they don't do it in a physical way the way the Heat do.
All right, 617-779-0985. That's the phone number if you want to jump aboard. We are on YouTube tonight. You can chat in. I know some people are still talking about the Tatum and Bam Adebayo play, which we got the audio from everybody, so we'll stack that all up for you guys in a bit. But just a couple of things about playing in Miami. The Celtics have now played in 9 playoff games in Miami over the last 3 years. They're 7-2 in those games. They've absolutely dominated them on the road. So the flip side is the Celtics are 3-6 against the Heat at the Garden. Mm-hmm. Celtics now come back home. They can right a few wrongs here by eliminating them in Game 5. But what type of team are we going to see in Game 5 now, potentially without Kristaps Porzingis, and what else can Miami throw here now as they're in desperation mode?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what they got left. They don't have anything left. They don't have any moves to make. They don't have any more adjustments. I mean, they played zone tonight and Derek White killed them. I don't know what else they can do. I don't think they have any answers for anything the Celtics can do right now. And the good thing is, all season they sat Porzingis a lot, kind of preserving him for the playoffs. But they've played 30 plus games without him. They know how to play without Porzingis on the floor.
Yep.
And I think you're going to see a team that gets out and runs a little more. And I'd look for Cornet, I think, to have a big night. I love Cornet's game, and he's real smart against these undersized teams. So I think Cornet's going to have a big night, but I don't see them going back to Miami after Wednesday.
Just getting back to Derek White, who had an outstanding game tonight. 38 points, had over 8 threes, and had over 3 blocks on the night. It's only happened 3 times in NBA history, playoff history. Vince Carter, Damian Lillard, and Derek White. He's
interesting.
He's had some. I know he had that big play in Game 6 last year to force the Game 7. It's funny. He's become a playoff player, a guy that he makes big plays. But tonight, he carried the load tonight, while Brown struggled a little bit outside the restricted area, and Tatum was good. Tatum was really passing the ball well and doing the little things.
he kept feeding them.
But White, they knew he had it, and they went right to him, and they believe him. They trusted him.
And that's the big difference between this team and other teams. The whole thing we always, Marcus Smart and Grant Williams and that crew, it wasn't that those guys weren't as good. I don't think Tatum and Brown trusted them as much, so they would force it in tough situations. They were hunting Derek White. They were looking for him and trying to find him the ball. Jason Tatum had a triple-double in the first game because he was moving the ball. Tonight, they were looking for Derek White, and he was making his shots. Those cuts to the basket, those dunks were huge, and I think that kind of killed a Miami run there. But Derek White has been one of the great pickups for the Celtics team in a long time, and I'm going to stick by it. I compare him. He's their Dennis Johnson. He's that guy. I think DJ won Finals MVP one year doing the same thing, just being a defensive presence and getting hot at the right times and making key plays. And the players around him trusted him. And Derek White, he's a key asset to this team. And again, the Marcus Smart situation, not so much him, but it allows Derek White to get more time on the court and get more shots up. And you see the results.
All right, throwing battles here. I do want to ask you about Al Horford's performance tonight. He had some interesting comments after the game, and then just the defense of the Celtics. We'll do that coming up on the other side. I see some phone calls here, though. So let's take one before we hit the headline. John's in Newton. Hey, John.
Joe, we talk every time around this time. I'm very confident the Celtics are going to win. I think Porzingis is going to be fine. I think it's very similar to what happened early in the season with him. The only thing that bothers me about watching modern-day basketball is when there's 4 guys walking up and there's no easy points off layups. And I said the same thing last year. Boy, can they just with guys like Brown and Tatum and Drew, these guys are athletic, fast guys. And it's amazing to see these athletes not being able to get at least 10 points, easy points. Like, there were no easy points today. It was walking up, like, take my picture for the poster. And I love the Celtics. It's hard to watch modern-day basketball because I come from the 70s and 80s. And I've seen the 86 Celtics. But this team is as good a Celtic team as I've ever saw. They play different. They don't play the same way as I grew up.
Thanks, John. I appreciate it. What did you think of the fast break tonight's round?
Yeah, it was non-existent. I mean, he's right on. I was tweeting out earlier. They need to run. Even off made shots, run. The layups were there. Run. They have one shot blocker in the state of Florida, and it's Bam Adebayo. And when he's not in the paint, that is a layup every single time. Beat him. They were gassed. They were down. You could have pushed this to 50 if you'd have just even ran off makes. And you know who the one guy was that was running? The old school guy. It was Al Horford. If a Heat player made a shot and he fell in the stands, Al's inbounding it quick. Let's go. He get a rebound. He's pushing the guys who are behind him. Run. And I'm tired of people telling me that these are the fastest, most athletic athletes we've ever seen in NBA history, and they're all walking. They run off made shots. push it. If you're playing the team with a good defense before they set, run. If you're playing a team that plays zone all night, run. That way they can't set up the zone. They have to play man, and you get layups on them all night. That's one of the most frustrating things with me with this Celtics team, and the call is right. It's a league-wide thing. You see 3-on-2 breaks and guys just stop and pull it back. And just real quick before we take a break, I think it goes back to coaching. Over-coaching. You see every coach in the league now is up screaming out a play. It could be a 3-on-1 break, and the coach is throwing up numbers and gang signs, and it's like, yo, let them run. Let them flow. Let them be their thing. They don't need a play right now, and it's just a league-wide thing, and it is really frustrating.
All righty, Cerrone Battle. I'm Joe Murray. We're here until midnight tonight reacting to the Celtics win, now up 3-1 in the series. They head back to Boston on Wednesday night. We'll tell you more about it right now in Sports Hub Headlines.
Sports Hub Headlines.
102-88, that was the final. Celtics winners tonight. Now lead the series 3-1. They got 38 points from Derek White. They got 20 from Jason Tatum and 17 from Jaylen Brown, but the
Everybody knows Joe.
Just keeps getting better.
Joe Murray on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Run time off that clock being guarded by Tyler Hero. Jalen spins on Hero, kick to the corner. Horford extra pass. How about a Derek White three that finishes the deal? How poetic was that? His 8th three of the night, 38 for Derek White.
All right, back here at 98.5 The Sports Hub. I'm Joe Murray. Got Cerrone Battle joining us here. What a night for Derek White as he went off and he was hot and there was nothing the Miami Heat could do versus the Celtics tonight, besides maybe a little bit of Heat culture. But I wanted to mention just Al Horford for a minute here. There were times this year, specifically in Game 2, where I thought Porzingis struggled, and maybe the Celtics should look into Al, like just maybe a different option, or even have Porzingis out on the post or out on the perimeter instead of in the post. Just something different. Like Al is that piece. I know he's older, but he isn't slowing down. And
No.
Tonight, he might not be the greatest box scorer or anything like that. He looked motivated. He was playing. He helped in certain situations. He got a technical in a bad spot. Overall, it's just he's Old Faithful, man. He's like the toolbox. You know what I mean? You go to his tools, he always works every time, and Horford's just that guy on this team.
Yeah, and he's the smartest guy on both teams. He knows where to go, where to be, what to do at every moment. He just can't do it for as long as he used to. That's the only thing. But when he's out there, he's effective. And the Heat were missing a lot of shots inside when he was there because of his presence. Nationally, they were making it like the Heat just had, 86 wide open shots that they had missed them all without any help from the Celtics. But no, Al Horford's rotations, his presence in the middle, just him being a kind of like a middle linebacker, a free safety, telling everybody else where to go, pushing guys this way, just being verbal. All that played into, his presence on the court, and the Celtics winning that game tonight. And because of that, and because of his experience with this group, is why I think Porzingis not being out there for a little while won't really hurt them as much, because you're still going to end up with Tatum, Brown, Holiday, and Derek White, and Al in the middle, which is still a better five than what anybody in the Eastern Conference has at least. So I think they'll be fine out of that. But I think Al is steady, man. I always say he was and always is the heart and soul of this team. He's the one they listen to. He's the one that gets guys in their right places and does the right thing. So, and he came through again. Like you said, it doesn't show up in the box score, but the Heat players recognize him and they realize what he was doing when he was out there and when he wasn't.
All right, Cerrone Battles here. I'm Joe Murray. I want to take a couple of calls. We will get into what happened earlier, late in the game there with Bam Adebayo and Jason Tatum. But let's start with Dave. He's in Shrewsbury. Hey, Dave, you're on the Sports Hub.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. First of all, great win, great. Glad they won. Great game by Derek White. But if we're being honest here, I really think the reason why they won is because the Heat team they stink. They're really bad. Tyler Hero is their second best player, and he'd be the 7th best player on the Celtics. And then after him, there's a huge drop-off. This is like a glorified G League team. I think if the Celtics come out and they play against any other playoff team like they did tonight, they're not winning the game. So, it's great that they won, but I'm really not encouraged. I'll hang up and listen to your thoughts.
How can you not be encouraged after a win?
They were up 30. They were up 30.
What are you not encouraged about?
But here's the thing, you know what it is? You see a lot of it on social media, and with the call saying it's not pretty. It doesn't look good. And that's true playoff basketball. It's the same thing in the NFL. It's the same thing in the NHL and baseball. Playoff ball is different. Look around the league. Look at how many teams in this year's playoffs in the first round can't reach 100 points. You're seeing it night after night, game after game. The league is allowing teams to be physical in the playoffs, and all of a sudden these guys don't look as good anymore. You had a record year when it comes to scoring. Everybody's scoring 120, 150, 117 points. And now teams are struggling to reach 100. A huge 20-point drop-offs across the league. And it's because when defense is allowed to be played, it's going to look messy. And yeah, if the Celtics are playing against another team, it might look different. But I tell you one thing, a part of the reason Celtics look bad because it's a team they've played so many times. They're so familiar with them, and they're so familiar with the Celtics. Orlando and Cleveland, yeah, they play defense, but they haven't faced the Celtics enough to know every move, every step, every tendency. And they're going to have nights where they're going to get cooked. But the Celtics are going to, it's going to be a little tougher because those teams have more size and a little younger. But the Miami Heat, you can't look at them and say, well, they don't have talent. Bam Adebayo is an all-star. Tyler Hero will be a borderline all-star on another team. If he was on the Celtics playing with the guys around him, how good would he look with space? Jimmy Butler, yeah, he's not he's not there now, but this is the same Miami Heat team that sent you home and made it to the finals. This Heat team has had several deep playoff runs with that G League roster with Duncan Robinson, Gabe Vincent, who got a huge contract, Max Strus, all these role players, but they know how to play as a unit and they know how to win games and make deep playoff runs. This team they were in finals in 2 of the last 3 seasons. Don't overlook that roster and look for names. All the names in the Western Conference that they all about to go home in the first round. The Lakers got about another hour and they're going home too.
Dan is in Reading. Hey, Dan.
Hey, guys. First off, I love listening to you both, but no, I disagree with you because it's not just the playoffs. The Celtics in the regular season as well, they just can't finish a game. They start off playing so well, and then they just every time, a lot of teams are up 10 points, and they go up to 20, then 30. The Celtics just cannot keep a lead, and they just always keep the starters.
Dan.
Yeah.
Did they do it tonight?
Did they do what?
Did they close out the game tonight?
Yeah, they did, but it got down to 12
You're
points
complaining.
at the end.
You're complaining about nothing. They just beat the Miami Heat on the road. I just told you they're 7-2 their last 9 games in Miami. What are we complaining about?
I would just like to add on to that, too. The Boston Celtics this year had the least blown leads in the NBA. The least.
They only had like
leads.
8.
Did this Porzingis thing make everybody go crazy?
Games, they had 8.
Is it Porzingis? Is that what's going on right now? Are people
no one's even mentioning Porzingis.
What is going on?
I don't know, man. And listen, what game was it? Was it yesterday? You had a great game between the Clippers and
the Clippers and Dallas game was like an amazing back and forth.
It was, but they blew a 35-point lead. They blew a 35-point lead.
Oh, but Kyrie and Doncic lead. They blew the lead. Yeah, they only came all the way back and took the lead as well. But it was James Harden who actually came through in the clutch.
James Harden had to come through late. Blown leads happen across the league. I understand a lot of people don't watch the whole league. They just watch the Celtics, so it looks like they're blowing all these leads. The Celtics broke a record for the most 20-point wins in the season. Nobody in the history of the sport had more 20-point wins than them. I think they had the most 25-point wins too. And they, like you just said, Skaz just said, they had the fewest blown leads in the league. They were up 28. They didn't win by 28. They ended up winning by, 14, whatever it was. But they, like you said, they held on. The Heat made their run. Tatum twisted his ankle. They said, you know what? Let's get this thing over with. And it was a couple layups by, go home. On the road, the place was quiet. They did what they were supposed to do. The games aren't going to look beautiful the rest of the way. I'm sorry. They're not.
Playoffs aren't beautiful, right?
They never are.
By the way, I'm on record saying that the Celtics can front run their way to the final. All right? And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'll take an L. But I think that they can win this way. I think they can win by blowing teams out. Maybe that team does go on a little bit of a run and it cuts it to 10 or 11 points. That's the NBA, though. The NBA is a game of runs. It's been happening for years. And yes, it has happened against the Celtics. But for the most part, complaining about winning a game on the road when one of your best players goes down, that's just like you're nitpicking for things to complain about. That's my opinion.
When your 5th best player goes for 38 is on the road in a playoff game.
Oh, that annoys me.
There's no reason. I mean, OKC in New Orleans are playing right now. Oklahoma City is one of the highest scoring teams in NBA history. They're not going to reach 100 tonight. And they're probably going to still win the game. Both teams are in the low 80s with 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter. The Lakers have blown a double-digit lead in every single game in this Denver series. And they're about to go home if they lose tonight. It's a league-wide thing. If you don't just look at the Celtics when you're evaluating their future, look at the rest of the league and say, can the Celtics beat this team and that team? Yeah, they can. Because the rest of the league, whatever you're complaining about now, they do it worse than the Celtics. That's why the Celtics were 15 games better than everybody else.
Annoying. Eric's in Texas. Hey, Eric.
Hey, guys. You guys are killing it tonight, and I loved your draft coverage, too. But look, these fans that are upset because we only won by 14 tonight, it's like, what do you want? On the road, game 4, this is how the playoffs are. It's not much different than the NCAA tournament. It's just survive and advance. You don't get bonus points for blowouts. It's just a W. And, it's kind of like in Rocky IV, when the Russians start booing Drago because he can't pummel Rocky. It's like, if these guys are hanging out in the locker room, like, what do you want from us? We just won on the road against a team that has this heat culture. And all these fans are calling in saying, well, I'm not encouraged because, we blew a 30-point lead and only won by 15. It's like, really? I mean, what do you guys want at this point? And this is the same problem that actually, I know we don't like to cross sports, but when all of a sudden the Red Sox went and said, we got to get Adrian Gonzalez and Carl Crawford, and I don't forget the other guy they got, Pablo Sandoval, right? And they all said, well, we want to win in a really, exciting way. And what did that happen? We tanked, we bottomed out, we cratered, and we had to trade all those guys away and dump salary. So Celtics fans need to enjoy the moment. Let's put this one to bed, get healthy, get rested, and get ready for the next series. That's all it's about. Survive and advance. Mm-hmm. And instead of a one-game series in the NCAA tournament, you got to play 4, 5, or 6 games against a team that is hungry and knows you and is battle-tested. So you don't make it through this on luck. You win it because you're tougher. And that's what the Celtics are. And they also have more options than any other team has. Tatum and Brown don't play, exceptionally well, scoring in the 30s. Derek White steps up, or Drew Holiday, or KP, or it is Tatum and Brown. So let's be excited with what we have and what's in front of us and close this thing out. That's all I got. You guys are the best at night. I appreciate it. And I love listening to you on the weekends, too, okay?
What do you got on that, Saron?
Thanks. I mean, he's right. I mean, the once Tatum twisted his ankle, you could see the whole. Well, not even at that point. When Porzingis went out, you see the whole name of the game was let's just get out of here. If we win by 1 point, let's just get out of here. We're not here to impress anybody today. Let's just get out of here healthy because we don't know what other dirty moves these dudes got up their sleeves. Let's just get out of here and escape, go home, get in our own beds, and just be ready for Wednesday. Like you said, it's just survive and advance. That's all it is. You hit the nail on the head with that. And a lot of these teams out here that are desperate, you got coaches that are trying to save their jobs, players. This is their final year of their contract, last games. Kevin Love could be retiring. They're gonna claw and scratch and fight. They're not gonna quit. So you're gonna see teams make their runs and stuff like that. But the Celtics at this point, they know they're the better team, the healthier team. They're just trying to get up out of there before something else crazy happens.
All right, on the other side here, Cerrone, we're going to get the radio call, the Stan Van Gundy call of what happened between two good friends, Jason Tatum and Bam Adebayo. We'll do all that coming up next. I'm Joe Murray. He's Cerrone Battle. We got Skaz here as well. You're listening to 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Don't go anywhere. There's more Joe Murray.
They've been getting wholesale deals for years.
It's Joe Murray on the Sports Hub.
7 on the shot clock. Well, shot clock's been low, but bad foul committed by Miami.
Oh.
And wow, after the whistle, Tatum launched a shot, and Bam Adebayo knocked him down. And now Tatum is reaching down for his left ankle after Bam hit him after the whistle. And now Tatum has both his hands up at his forehead. What on earth was Bam thinking about?
What on earth was Bam Adebayo thinking about? I got to hear more audio on this one because I guess Stan Van Gundy was pretty good tonight. But just overall, I want to ask you one question, and then we'll kind of hit the headline and do everything. But you know how this year Missoula got talked to about contesting shots, and we know that Kevin Garnett did it for years. I'm trying to be unbiased in this one, but do you take any of that into account when you look at this play here, Cerrone?
Kind of, but he was right up under him. It's not like you see Garnett would goaltend it a lot. The guy under the ring, in a lot of NBA games, the guy would just goaltend it or kind of like, half-heartedly try and block it. Bam not only reached swipe for the ball, he pushed him in the chest too. And I don't think he didn't mean for Tatum to step on his foot, but he straight contested it like it was a real shot. And the rule is in play about your feet and landing space and all that for that reason alone. And he did that. He should have took his tech. And, I know you're probably going to play Stan in a minute, but Stan completely put 100% of it on Tatum, which is weird to me. But yeah.
I need more. I got to hear that. I haven't heard it yet, so I'm interested in hearing that. I got a couple of takes on this one. Let's just we'll get you caught up on everything happening in Sports Hub headlines. There's a couple of there's some notes because tomorrow's the Bruins game, and we found out who they could be potentially playing as well, and we'll give you the Celtics score. Cerrone's here. I'm Joe Murray. No commercials here. Just a quick headline and back to your calls.
WBCFM 81 bus from the Town Fair Tire Studio, the home of the Bruins, Patriots, Revs, and Celtics.
Come on, Maxey, step back, 3 is good!
Boston's home for sports is 85, the Sports Hub, a Beasley Media Group station. Sports Hub headlines.
Celtics win 102-88 in Miami tonight. They were led by Derek White's 38 points. They also got 20 from Jason Tatum and 17 from Jaylen Brown, but Kristaps Porzingis left the game. It was said to be a calf strain. He was seen leaving the arena tonight in a walking boot. Game 5 is in Boston on Wednesday night. Speaking of a Game 5, the Bruins will try to close out Toronto. If they win, they'll play the Florida Panthers, who eliminated the Tampa Bay Lightning tonight. In some NFL news, Travis Kelce got a big extension, $34 million from the Chiefs, while locally here, Christian Barmore got an extension worth up to $92 million, 42 of it guaranteed. Headlines, they are brought to you by Safety Insurance, providing comprehensive coverage for your auto, home, and business. Ask your independent agent about safety. I'm Joe Murray. Your next update is in 30 minutes.
This is Kristaps Porzingis.
Left-hand dribble, lobs it. Porzingis catches with one hand and throws it down.
You're listening to the home of Boston Celtics basketball. 98.5 Sports Hub.
All right, Ernie, thank you for that. It's Boston ball here, and we got a foul as Derek White hits the deck. Jason Tatum falls down trying to pick up a foul. I think he may have rolled his ankle as he was going down.
Well, he shot the ball after the foul was called. Horford's upset. He thinks there's extracurricular activity. But look, Tatum decided to shoot the ball, and Bam Adebayo decided to contest the shot all after the foul was called. There's the foul call. It's already over. Tatum's going to shoot it. You're not going to let the guy. Yeah, but the foul's already been called. You're not going to let the guy just get a warm-up shot to get ready for the next one. I don't think there's anything there.
All right, back here at 98.5 The Sports Hub. We've got another hour to go here. Celtics win tonight handily. But that was the controversial play towards the end of the game. 5 minutes to go. And I brought up the contested shot because it's something that, Kevin Garnett kind of made famous here, and as Cerrone pointed out, it was kind of a goaltend, like don't let someone get a shot or see the ball go in the bucket, that kind of thing. And then earlier this year, Joe Mazzulla, someone spoke to him. We don't know who, I assume ownership. Someone spoke to him, and then on this play here, it was a dead ball. And Tatum and Adebayo have a really good relationship. They're really good friends. And he ended up taking the shot. Bam Adebayo pushed him. But on the shot, he came down on Adebayo's foot, which sprained. It looked like he rolled his ankle. And he would look to be down in pain. And some people came over. Al Horford gave a little bit of a bump. But it did seem like something that happened after the play. I'm trying to be unbiased, Cerrone, because that most people in Boston go, oh, that's dirty, which I do think it was a little dirty. And people have hated the commentary from Stan Van Gundy, so I wanted to hear it. But he's trying to blame Tatum for this. So I'm trying to be unbiased here. We've kind of already discussed it.
Well, Joe, you want to talk about biases? Let's see if Stan Van Gundy might have a little bias.
Yes, let's see if there is any bias with Stan Van Gundy.
Call the floor, so
my guess is, though, it's going to be a hostile act on Bam Adebayo, and I'm going to say that I don't like that call at all. I think that's what's going to happen. Look, I got to admit I'm a little bit biased here because I have not liked the Boston Celtics approach in this entire game. The thing they have done best all year, in my opinion, is despite their dominance, they have avoided complacency. Tonight, they have been a very complacent team. The fact that the Heat couldn't make shots and shot themselves in the foot some have gotten them over on a night where they haven't pushed much into the game.
Ooh.
So because you didn't like the Celtics' effort in the first and second quarter, Jason Tatum deserved to get his ankle rolled on a play after the foul.
Get it? So that's where I'm trying. That's where Skaz pulled the lever. Hey Joe, you want to hear about biases? But we were kind of talking about it in studio, and it's funny because Grandy and Max were kind of doing the same thing, and then all these people are like, "Oh my God, Van Gundy!" Blah, 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 blah. So I mean, I think I want to hear his side of the story when it comes to. I want to hear his side of the story when it comes to contesting the shot. But then when he says bias and doesn't like the way the Celtics play, yes, you're right. It has nothing to do with Tatum rolling his ankles, Kaz.
Yeah, I think that's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard on a professional sports broadcast. And I don't think that's I'm not saying that lightly. I really think that's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard, where he admits a bias and then says the bias is because the Celtics were too complacent in a game they had a 30-point lead, multiple 25-point leads, basically held a 20-point lead the entire third quarter, but because they were complacent in a game they led by 30, Jason Tatum deserves to have Bam Adebayo not just contest him, which happens. Getting your shot contested after the whistle is a normal thing that happens in the NBA. Getting your shot contested after the whistle and then pushed in the stomach and having someone land underneath you is not a normal thing that happens in an NBA game. And it's 100% on Bam. You want to contest the shot? Fine. But landing in someone's space is like the number one no-no, especially like among guys in the league. I'm not even talking about like us. Like guys in the league look at this as like a disrespectful. Like I think of the playoffs with Zaza Pachulia and different things like that. Like he was basically shunned from the league after that because it's viewed as so dirty. So for Stan Van to say this, it's just maybe he's overcompensating for his brother being on the Celtics staff. He like knows that's out there, so he's almost overcompensating it. But even then, it's just it's almost like impressively stupid thing to say.
And he was dogging the Celtics effort all night. And I'm sitting there like, wait a minute. It's the end of the third quarter. These dudes, it looked like they weren't going to hit 80. Like, what do you mean the Celtics have no effort? Derek White is blocking everything. Al Horford saving everything. Tatum's got double-digit rebounds. And you're saying they're not playing with effort. And then when Tatum rolls his ankle, it's like, well, he shouldn't have shot it. I don't like the effort. He shouldn't have shot it anyway. Like, no, it's not like you're wishing an injury on somebody, but you can see that old school basketball mindset. Like, oh, well, if you get hurt, you get hurt. You shouldn't have did what you did. But it's like, it's not an intentionally dirty play, but there was some frustration. I'm not going to let Bam off the hook. that was a kind of a frustration foul, even though it was after the whistle. He did that the way he did out of frustration because he was already complaining about getting a call on the other end. And he complained about that all the way. The clock was on zeros. If you check the end of the game again, they're walking off the court, and Bam is still complaining about the call before Tatum stepped on his foot. So there was some frustration there, and it was a dirty play. And thank God Tatum didn't really get hurt, or Bam would be hearing from the league and probably be missing a game or two.
The only thing I didn't like was when he pushed him, he looked away and then saw Tatum on the ground and he goes, "Come on, man." Like, I get it. Like, in soccer, people try to sell the calls, right? Mm-hmm. No, I think that he definitely fell on his foot. He twisted his ankle. There was a push. I like how Horford came over. I don't understand what the refs were looking at here. So I kind of hope they come back and look at this one, but I'm just trying to stay neutral on this one. In a way, I feel as though the Celtics like to do that contested shot thing. I know this was dead ball, but at the same time, we'd respect Adebayo if he was a Celtic and did it. So people want to blame Tatum for it. I just don't blame him for rolling his ankle. I thought that was an act that was a dead ball foul.
Yeah, and I think what would happen though, if Celtic had done that, we'd have been screaming at the TV like, "Man, what are you doing? You're going to give away a free point." You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you doing? You should have left. Even if he makes that, it doesn't count. But by you doing that, you just gave them 2 free throws. And then, of course, Tyler Hero misses his. Tatum makes his too. But as Celtic fans, we would have been like, dude, don't let them off the hook. That was a cheap one. You can get yourself either thrown out, but you're going to give a technical at the minimum and give away free points. And Heat fans was the exact opposite. Like he was entitled to do that. Like, he can do that. He's in his right to do that. It's like, well, this is what happens. This is the result of you contesting that. If you'd have stayed away from that at the time, I think they was on their run. I think that kind of killed the run for Miami. I think they had cut it to like 8 or 10 or something like that. That was a huge swing in their run. If he just lays off of that, who knows how this game would have ended. But I think that kind of changed all the momentum for the Miami Heat.
Oh, I agree. That was, because they were hot and it slowed things down, and it almost helped the Celtics in that regard. I do want to play Al Horford. He had some comments regarding the play after. Let's hear from Al Horford.
We don't see you get as fired up as you did when that happened with Adebayo and with Tatum. What were you saying to the refs? What were you seeing on that play?
Yeah, I know that we get to playing around and trying to contest shots after fouls and things like that, but there's levels to contest, and if a guy's shooting and the play's over with, just kind of let him be. I know he's trying to compete over there, but I was just mad. I don't want to see any of my guys get hurt or anything like that. So thankfully JT's fine, but it could have been bad.
Could have been bad, and I like that he stepped up. I hope they look at it again and rescind that technical there. But this goes back to that code red thing. I didn't like it at the time. I didn't like it. I'm really trying to be unbiased here. People see things through green colored glasses here. I'm sure you know that, Saron.
Yes.
But in this case, I do feel like it was a little bit of Heat culture, but the code red thing I didn't buy at the time. I think that woke up Caleb Martin. I thought that woke up the Heat. They played well the next game. They punked the Celtics. They flat out did. And the 2 guys that they traded for didn't play. They didn't step up. They didn't play well. They responded in game 3. Tonight, they're already down Porzingis, and, here you go. You don't want your star to go down or get hurt. And in a play that meant nothing, guy rolls his ankle, and it was somewhat of a meaningless play, and it could have been costly, and it wasn't. But here we are talking about it because it was all the Heat have because they couldn't hit any of their shots.
Yeah, I mean, this is what they do. This is what they want. They want you talking about this. They want you dealing, not like Bam. Like I said, I don't think Bam meant for Tatum to step on his foot, but yeah, he intentionally tried to defend the shot. Nothing easy. That's the Heat culture stuff. We're not giving up no cheapies, even after the whistle. Nothing easy. And this is what they want you to talk about. This is what they want you to focus on. and not so much the way they played defense, the way they rotated and kind of slowed the Celtics down offensively a little bit. But I think you have to not match that intensity and try and be over aggressive because you don't want to send them to the line in the next game 5 or whatever. But you have to realize what you're dealing with when it comes to this team. And hopefully the message on the flight back, that 4 hour, 3 hour, 4 hours, whatever it is let's end this and get it over with and be done with these guys. You don't want to mess around with them. We could have lost both of our basically your best 2 players for the season messing around with these guys. Let's just get this over with and get in on to Orlando or Cleveland, whoever wins.
All right, an update here from Kristaps Porzingis on Twitter. Says, good W tonight. D. White is special. Thanks for all the support. We'll be good, with a little bit of a flex there. So that's positive. It's like getting the old thumbs up, when someone comes off the field. So I feel good about that one. And, I got a betting line that just came out for Game 5. I'll tease that one for just a little bit. But let's get back to the phones here. Some people want to talk about Stan Van Gundy and the Bam play. Let's start with Dave in Florida. Hey, Dave.
Hey, how you doing? How you guys doing tonight? Yeah, here in Florida, I got to watch these guys. I don't have a choice. I'm always talking to my friends and everything, and you guys have a choice. You can listen to the, like you say, the green-colored glasses, but man, I have to. They got to get rid of Van Gundy. He should not be on the air. He's just always hated the Celtics. Why do I have to listen?
It's almost a conflict of interest with his brother as part of the Celtic staff, right? It's like to me, like that's the way I look at it. But he was just visible. I can understand a former coach doesn't like the way the Celtics play and it annoys him, but you got to do your job at the same time. Don't be biased. I like Tommy Heinsohn. He has the right to be biased. He had the right to be biased his whole career. What is Stan Van Gundy got a bias for?
It's true, right. Tommy was a Celtic. He coached the Celtics. He played for the Celtics. He was the Celtic. Of course, he's going to be biased. Like, dude, you're on a national network, not a local one, and you complain. Here's my thing. If you want to complain about effort, complain about the team that's down 30. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't give me the team that's up 25 at the time. I don't really like their effort tonight. What about the team that has 50 going into the fourth quarter? Excuse me. Don't be biased. Put the blame on both sides. The Miami Heat, yeah, they had stretches where they played good ball, but most of the night, like the call said earlier, it looked like a G League team. They looked terrible. Put some of your blame on them. Get on them. Get on the team that's getting smoked and that's down 3-1. But I know he doesn't want to. I don't know his relationships, his buddy, he probably likes Spoelstra, whatever it may be. He refused to criticize Miami and kept saying all night how great they were playing. They're just missing shots. The Celtics aren't doing anything.
Miami's doing so great, but they missed all their shots. Like
he did it all night, Joe. It was ridiculous.
And you want to know what's funny? A lot of Celtics fans thought that Skaz and I was talking about this during the game. I do think that Jaylen Brown struggled a little bit shooting from outside the restricted area.
He did.
He didn't have a bad night though. He still had 17, 18 points. Like he was a big part. He went to the basket with authority in transition. He was very good. Like, yeah, he had a couple of turnovers, which we'll get to in a bit here, but I just don't think he was being crushed here. And I think he was trying to overcompensate without Porzingis.
Yeah, I think they were all started to do a little much, but at the end of the day, they kept feeding Derek White. He took 26 shots tonight. Brown and Tatum, I think Brown was around 17, Tatum 14, I think it was. They fed the hot hand all night. Yeah, they struggled against the Heat defense. They're like top 5 in the league in defense. They make you look sloppy. This is what they do. But with a 30-point lead, kind of stepping off the gas a little bit, yeah, things got kind of lax. But when they needed to turn it up, they turned it up. I mean, it's just you're not going to get 5 guys all with 30 points, 150 points up on the board. That's not going to happen in the postseason. I mean, that you say the one time I can think of in the last 20 years is when the Celtics blew the Lakers out in that Game 6 at home to win the championship, and everything just fell. But before that, neither team could score 100. It's postseason basketball, it's postseason sports, and these guys, I don't think they played a bad game at all. They did what they were supposed to do. They went on the road and won the game by 14 after having a 28-point lead. They did what they were supposed to do tonight.
All right, one more before the break. Steven in Brockton. Hey, Steven.
Hey, guys, love the show. You kind of touched on my point there towards the end, but it's really I love coming to the defense of your teammate. Certainly the time in the game is very important as to when you do that and, taking fouls and such. But, it makes it a little easier when you have a big lead to, take a foul and come to the defense of your team. But coming more from like a hockey guy and always wanting to be in the mix, like I thought that was a positive thing from the game. Obviously being up big makes that a little easier, but I thought that was a positive. Thanks, guys.
I thought that was smart too, right? Horford came over, gave the little bump to acknowledge it. No one needed to be tough. No one needed to throw any. You know what I mean? It was just, hey, send a message. Hey, and the refs saw it. He called it. And, they were still complaining about it, to your point, after the game. I am curious how this thing bounces back in Game 5 going to Boston, because if Miami can't shoot, they're cooked.
Yeah. And I don't think they're going to have – look, it took the greatest shooting night in franchise history for them to win that game, or they'd have been going home tonight. I mean, it's just – it is what it is. I still don't like the idea of daring them to shoot. They had a lot of open threes tonight, I think, by design. But I want to see a little more contest, a little more energy on the defensive end, on the jump shots early in the game, and get off to a fast start and put these guys away early. But they did everything they were supposed to do. Al Horford played a good game in his role when he stepped in. And you're right. Al came over. I'm not going to do nothing to get me suspended, but I'm going to let the Heat players know I didn't appreciate that. I don't like seeing my star on the ground. Derek White at the time, he was face down when Tatum.
He was the one who got fouled, by the way.
He
Did you know
got fouled,
that?
yes.
He's
the one
he's on his ass on the floor. Tatum's got the ball, and they're all worried about Tatum still after the. I think that's coached. I'm on it. I'm being serious about that. You learned that somewhere, right? Like, yes. I don't know. I don't know if it's CYO or did you learn it in college? Is it an NBA? I just know you learned that somewhere. Like, you know what I mean? And maybe that is a Heat thing, to the Heat culture point that you made, but nobody does that on their own.
Yeah.
So I'll leave it at that.
Yep.
You mentioned the defense. I got some defensive numbers for you regarding the Celtics over the last couple of games. We'll do that. Cerrone Battles here. I'm Joe Murray. Skaz back there as well. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
You're listening to Joe Murray on 98.5.
Smelly.
It's Joe Murray on the Sports Hub.
White finds the open man. It's Tatum. He's going to put it to the floor. Drive and flush with the right hand. Drive home safely.
That's the sound that he went with as he was going back.
It feels like every time the Celtics take their talents to South Beach, they leave with a win.
All right, back here at 98.5 The Sports Up. Cerrone Battles here. I'm Joe Murray. That play there, Cerrone, was the Tatum dunk on Caleb Martin. And I wish, remember back in the day, you get those posters, you got to put them in your room.
Slam of the week.
That would have been, I wrote it differently on Twitter, but it looked like waist to the face is what it looked like. Waist to the face. There was a couple of them, right? Brown had a monster thunder dunk. Tatum's was explosive, and I thought it was going to, they were going to start to go on a little bit of a run there, but after the game tonight, we don't have the audio, but I saw Abby talking to Tatum. I think Tatum is sick of Miami. I think he's wants out, doesn't want to go back there, and I think they take care of business at home the other in a couple of days.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think part of the thing, the way the Celtics look the way they look now, is it's Miami, man. I think they are so ready to get past Miami and on to something different. They've seen this team so much the last few years. They just want to hurry up and get this over with and be done with them. And it's going to look weird on TV watching them play Orlando or Cleveland. It's something you just don't see anymore. And I think they're ready to get past. Same thing as that 08 team, that 08 Celtics team. That Hawks team was just a thorn in their side, man. They couldn't get rid of them until the end, Game 7 or whatever it was. And then you had to face LeBron and the Cavs, who you faced every year for the next few years. But once they got past them, nobody even remembers them playing in Detroit. No one remembers that Detroit series at all in Eastern Conference Finals because you were so caught up in the LeBron Cavs thing that you forgot that they went and just steamrolled the Pistons to get to the finals and, beat up on the Lakers. But they just have to get past, this Miami Heat team and move on and be done with it. Get them over with and get their rebuild starting at the end of the weekend, man. It should be a wrap for them.
Well, according to Stan Van Gundy, it was because the Heat couldn't hit any of their shots, but I would just like to give the defense some credit for the Celtics. The Heat, right? They had the 84 points in Game 3 and got 88 in Game 4. Miami shot 40% from the field and 27% from 3. So the Celtics defense has been very good against that Heat squad that is shorthanded, as we mentioned. But the fact that is, I give the Celtics defense more credit than I actually look at the Heat not hitting their shots. But hey, nobody's going to give the Celtics credit for playing defense, right?
No, not at all. I mean, they're going to come up with every excuse in the world about this Heat team. And real quick, about the whole, the Heat, they're shorthanded and all this other stuff. So why did so many of them pick the Heat to win a couple games in this series? Why in the beginning, before they played a single game, you knew Jimmy Butler was out. You knew Duncan Robinson was banged up. You knew Terry Rozier was banged up. But yet nationally, they was like, well, they're still dangerous. But then when they're losing, it's like, well, they're shorthanded. So why'd you pick them? You knew they were shorthanded going into this. But the thing is, the Heat, they're missing a lot of threes. The reason they're missing them, even when they're open, is the Celtics made a decision and said, you're a bad three-point shooting team. You don't take a lot. It's not what you like to do, but we're going to take away all your layups, drives, and dunks. You get one Bam Adebayo dunk highlight play per game. That's it. That's all you're getting out of that. No Caleb Martin dunks, nothing else. Kevin Love's not down there getting tip-in rebounds over and over again. The Celtics have taken all that away, so they're forcing a bad three-point shooting team to shoot a lot of threes. That's part of their strategy. And what happened, it backfired on them in Game 2. They made them all, but you can see the strategy is we're going to take away everything inside the line and force you to the outside, and it's working for the Celtics. And that's because of their defense, not because of the Heat not being able to make shots.
All right, I have a betting line for Game 5, courtesy of DraftKings Sportsbook. Our buddy Julian Edlow, the Porzingis status long-term could mean something, but not as it pertains to Game 5. Right now, the Celtics are 14-point favorites to close it out in Game 5 versus Miami. The total set at 200. So all these games have been going under, right? Way under 200. So the other thing is could Jason Tatum be questionable for the game with an ankle injury? Do you think there's any chance he doesn't play?
No, he plays.
I agree.
I think if it was that bad, he wouldn't have finished his game tonight. So I think he plays. I don't know how much he plays. I can see him not being so much of a decoy, but in situations the way he's not cutting and all that stuff, I can see him being the guy on the receiving end of a lot of passes, where a lot of catch and shoot stuff from him. I mean, he probably feels fine. For some reason, this dude seems to bounce back really quickly. It's just last year in Game 7, it happened in mid-game, but I think he bounces back, and I think he has a decent game. But again, I don't think they need him to get 35 in order for them to win. It'd be great if he does, but I don't think they need him to do that to win that game.
Well, Magic Johnson checking in. Irving Magic Johnson. Gonna shake up the old 8-ball. Shake it up. What a performance from Derek White tonight. 38 points, including 8 3-pointers to lead the Celtics to victory over the Heat, and he gives a clapping hand emoji. Irving Magic Johnson with some of the best commentary in the business around. Great player, but his commentary, let me tell you, it is spectacular. But he's giving props to Derek White and his 38 points tonight. So we'll leave it there. I love Magic. Come on, anytime Magic wants to give the Celtics some props, I got to mention it.
Yeah, he's watching. He's paying attention. I mean, he's always out there tweeting and stuff too. But, I mean, he's an old school guy, so he's going to appreciate the effort from anybody. And I think Derek White should be the story of the night, really, around the league. I mean, to set what happens with this Lakers-Nuggets game, but I think him having a big night like that should send a message to the rest of the league that they have other guys out there that can go for these big nights, and this is why the Celtics are a dangerous team.
I'd like to take a trip around the NBA, if you don't mind, on the other side here. There's some news going on tonight with the Lakers and Oklahoma City Thunder's moving on and some other things going on. We mentioned that Clippers game earlier. In the future of the Milwaukee Bucks and Doc Rivers, we got to hit on that as well. We're here until midnight. Cerrone Battles here. I'm Joe Murray here on the Sports Hub.
Sports Hub headlines.
Celtics win 102-88 tonight. Derek White, 38 points at 8 3-pointers, led by Jason Tatum's 20, and along with Jaylen Brown, 17. But the story in this one, Kristaps Porzingis left the game.
Zolak and Bertrand get you through the midday. Joe Murray gets you right through the night.
I actually spoke with women today.
On the Sports Hub.
Kristaps Porzingis, who was seen in a walking boot, probably will not play in Game 5 or the rest of the series for that matter. So we'll certainly keep you updated if we hear anything else. He's going to have some x-rays tomorrow, but doesn't sound like it's an Achilles or anything like that. But we got to keep your eyes on it, as we've seen stuff like this now with Giannis and Kevin Durant in the past. I did want to go around the NBA a little bit with you here, Cerrone. First and foremost, this Cavs-Orlando series is now starting to get a little interesting, and it could be good news for the Celtics, the fact that these two teams, they might extend the series a little bit too. But right now, that series, when it comes down to Orlando and when it comes to Cleveland, tied at 2. Or Franz Wagner, right? 34 points in that one, Allen. But I just feel like that's a team that had given the Celtics some problems during the regular season, but I just can't see them beating the Celtics in 4 games, and I think they can do it without Kristaps Porzingis.
Yeah, I mean, I think those teams would really struggle to score. I think they'd have a hard time getting buckets. Same as Miami, but in a different type of way. Orlando, Banchero's a good player. Wagner's a good player. Him and his brother, they did solid, but I think the degree of difficulty in their shot making would be crazy, and they'd have to hit those crazy shots all night, 4 games out of 7 in order to be in it. And the same thing with when it comes with the Cavs. I think Donovan Mitchell in the playoffs, if you go back and look at his playoff history, he gets very ball dominant to where he starts taking 35 shots. He lives on that 3-point line. Now, the Cavs do have a lot of size. The Mobley and Allen are problems, but again, it's going to come down to Donovan Mitchell, who's going to try and show out against Tatum and Brown. And I think just like he did in Utah when they had those 50-plus win teams, shoot them right out of it. And I just think those teams, their scoring isn't balanced enough for them to affect the Celtics defensively. And I don't see either one of them giving the Celtics any problems.
Orlando, I just look at their backcourt between Suggs and Harris. They're not ready for Holiday and Derek White.
Yep.
And I like Banchero's game, but he's not ready yet. When it comes to Cleveland, Mitchell will get up for this one. Garland's been really good, and Allen and Mobley have always played well, but will they get the effort from a Strus? Will they get anything else off their bench? When it comes down to it, I don't think they're deep enough, but I think it will be Cleveland in the long run, but they kind of backed their way into the playoffs this year, and this could be such a difficult matchup for them where they may be gassed when they see Boston.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the case for them. And that was the Celtics' problem last year. Celtics didn't take care of business in the first round. They let that go too far, let the Sixers series go too far, and then when they got to Miami, they were so out of it and so burned up that it took them a while to get involved in that Heat series down 0-3, and then they went on their run, but Tatum gets hurt. But being rested and being healthy is what's going to get them through it. And I even look at the Knicks series. Brunson had his last game was amazing. He struggled before that. But again, it's one guy having to do so much just for his team to have a chance. That if he just gets 30, it's not enough for them to win. The Celtics just have too much balance. They're too deep. The Celtics bench tonight really didn't do much. Al Horford had a decent game, but Hauser and Pritchard really haven't been killing lately. But they have the ability to against teams like Cleveland and Orlando and Indiana and New York. They have the Celtics bench can really light those teams up. And I think that's going to be the difference in the long run. They have way too many guys that can get buckets outside of their main star.
Looking at the Bucks and Pacers up 3-1 in the series. They may be without Giannis again and Lillard. I wrote an article tonight. It's on 98.5thesportsup.com, but we had a chance to talk to Glenn Big Baby Davis last week. He's very critical of Doc Rivers. And it's great. It's a great interview if you want to listen to it. We got into we even got into like Tony Allen poker matches and all that stuff. He's doing an appearance at a big party at Kowloon on Wednesday night, so that should be fun. But he said that Doc was lucky as hell back in 2008, and I'll give you a tidbit of what he said in the interview when I talked to him. he just feels like at this point, Doc's style, it's too old school to keep up with today's players.
Yeah.
And he needs to change his way of thinking and the culture. And I just feel like this was Giannis's culture, though. This wasn't Doc Rivers' culture. So it's weird. I think Doc's done after this. To say culture in this team, I think this was a Giannis culture.
It was. Giannis took too much control of it. They gave him too much. They gave him the keys to the whole franchise, and which they shouldn't have. He's a great player, but that doesn't mean these players are great front office GMs. They shouldn't be running these teams, shouldn't be running these organizations. The kid doesn't even have a mid-range game or be able to ball handle. He can't run a whole team. You just won a championship. You had one of the best records in the league. You fire your coach. They lost because you got hurt and you weren't there. You weren't available. You fire that coach. The other coach comes in. You fire him because he's trying to get y'all to play defense, knowing you have the ability to. And now Doc Rivers. The only reason they didn't fire Doc Rivers, they didn't have another guy to replace him. So it's you're right. It's Giannis. Giannis wanted the Dame situation. He didn't want. I won't say he didn't, but he's the reason Holiday isn't there, who was their best defender. He controlled this whole situation, and now they're a mess. They're a shell of themselves, and they're probably not going to get out of the first round, which is crazy to think when the season started. And now going into next season, how many guys are going to be happy and want to be back in Milwaukee? Even Doc Rivers, if he survives this, like you said, he might be done and say, I'm never coaching any of these guys again. I had it good at ESPN. I could have just chilled, got probably paid the same money. So, I mean, it's just a terrible situation. I wonder who they're going to get now to coach that Bucks team and deal with this.
Play a little would you rather. Would you rather be the Bucks next year or the 76ers?
Oh, man. I might have to say the Bucks, man. I'll come back with Dame and Giannis. That Sixers situation
will they,
is real
though?
Funny.
Will they come back with Giannis and Dame?
I mean, what could you do with them? You just paid Giannis.
Does he want to be there?
You might have to force him. Somebody will take him now. You can trade Giannis. Somebody absolutely will take him.
Can I throw another one at you? Skaz gave me an opinion earlier, but I want yours. What do you think happens with the Suns? And where do you think Kevin Durant ends up? Skaz's take was maybe he goes back to Oklahoma City because they have all those first-round picks and maybe they can maneuver it.
Ooh, I don't know, man. They might be stuck. But those three guys might be stuck. The biggest mistake they made, they never went and got him a point guard. They never got a quarterback. They never went and got somebody that can distribute the ball. And you tried to turn Bradley Beal and Devin Booker into point guards, and it never worked all season because they didn't have that. I mean, as bad as they look, Kevin Durant was still KD. He was getting 30, shooting 60% or something crazy. He was still getting his buckets. Bradley Beal looked like he was betting on himself, but it's a bad situation. But I think Booker might be the one you get rid of. He's the young asset. He's the young guy you can probably trade. I think KD's there until he retires.
I was really impressed with Anthony Edwards. I think we all knew he was tough and good, but he's ascending to another level now, and I think right now, I don't want to get in the way of the Timberwolves. I think they're a dangerous team.
Defense, man. Defense and size. Don't let no one tell you that the big man is obsolete in today's NBA. The reason Minnesota is where they're at because they got two legit 7-footers that are defensive anchors. And one of them can stretch and hit threes. The other one's a cleanup man under the basket, and they have their finisher in Anthony Edwards. Defense, and size. The reason the Celtics had their advantage, they had Porzingis at his size. Jason Tatum is one of the bigger guys at his position. They have size all over the place. Holiday's a big guard. They have size. Size is why you win. Denver's probably about to beat the Lakers because they got Gordon and Jokic. You have to have size. Oklahoma City, they were terrible last year. What's the difference between them that last year and this year? They got checked. They have size. You have to have size in order to win in the league today. And Minnesota right now has got the best tandem of bigs in the league, and that's tough to deal with.
Jokic and Denver up 3 right now. They were down the whole game. Jokic 19 points, 15 rebounds, 8 assists at the moment.
Dude's a legend.
I don't know how you stop that. I don't know how you stop that guy. So there's your look around the NBA. We'll get our final thoughts on the Celtics. We look to close it out on Wednesday night. We'll wrap things up. It's our own battle. I'm Joe Murray. You're listening to 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Don't go anywhere. There's more Joe Murray. On the way on
All right, back here at 98.5 The Sports Hub, final segment. Before we wrap up the Celtic stuff with Cerrone Battle, if the Lakers go down tonight, what do you think the future of LeBron James is, Cerrone?
I think he's stuck too, man. I mean, I don't know what he's hanging around for or what he's trying to prove, but the more he hangs around, the more first-round L's he gets, the more dings he's getting to his legacy. But I think he's got nothing to prove, man. I'd go home before he got to get carried out. He just went down a minute ago holding his leg. I don't know if that's him kind of waving the white flag or if he's really hurt, but he went down. Anthony Davis just went down holding his shoulder, holding his neck. So, I mean, I don't know what the future holds for them. There's not much they can do as well. They spend so much money on those top guys. They don't have nothing else left to go around, and they're probably going to fire Darvin Ham, and it's going to be another coach for LeBron and the Lakers. So they're in the same boat as Phoenix and some of these older teams, the Clippers, and there's not much they can do. It's a young man's game now, and these guys, that's it. It's Golden State, Steph and them. It's all she wrote unless they all join up and play on the same team, and they probably still wouldn't win.
All right, I got one more on the Jason Tatum-Bam Adebayo thing. This is a quote from Jason Tatum. He goes, "You all saw it. I shot the ball afterward, landed on his foot, same ankle I hurt in Game 7 last year, that I hurt against the Warriors, that I tweaked against the Clippers. It didn't feel good at first. I don't want to make it a bigger deal than it is." I think we might have to keep our eyes on that thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a good thing he's only 26 as opposed to being 33 or 34 because he might be done for the series or something like that. But it's good to be young. You know, thank God he didn't break anything. He didn't get carried off. He wasn't limping like he was last year in Game 7. So we're going to keep our eye on it. And again, hopefully they can end this series so he can get it rested, get that foot up, get off of it, and they can chill and watch this Orlando-Cleveland series go for another 2 weeks the way the NBA is set up.
All right, Cerrone, appreciate. I know you've been burning the midnight oil of late. You've been working everywhere, football, basketball, everything of late.
Hey, if they have me, man, I'll be here.
We'll be here, back here. Hopefully they close it out on Wednesday night, and we're talking about a potential opponent and that they actually took the bull by the horn and took care of business. I think that's going to be the big takeaway. Do it without Porzingis. You're at home. Win the game at home, get your rest, wait for the next opponent. Hopefully we're talking about that on Wednesday.
Yes, sir. And real quick before we go, man, Bruins close it out or what?
Oh, yeah. I think tomorrow they close it out, and the Leafs, they blow it up. Like you mentioned, teams that they might have to do something there. Yep. You can't – you know what? You know what's funny? The Van Gundy approach is, the Celtics have made all these mistakes. The Leafs really have made all the mistakes against the Bruins. The Bruins are just capitalized, and they've scored with Swayman. So in the end, the Bruins have beat a team. I don't know if they can beat Florida, though. I don't know, but hey, it's the playoffs, and anything can happen with a hot goaltender.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I would love to see them going. It'd be great for them to get revenge. They beat Toronto, of course, but it would be interesting to see how the fans view Bruins-Panthers series now that you're looking at them through a different lens than you did going